On an old city bus rattling through a quiet rural highway, a thin black girl around 9 years old sat near the middle, waving her small hands in frantic motion. Her name was Liana. She wore her hair in tight braids and had wide, anxious eyes. She tried to say something, desperately, but no one understood her. The passengers grew restless. Some grumbled, others called her dirty or troublesome. Next to her sat a tall, gaunt white man in a worn gray suit. His name was Gregory Slate. His face was hollow, but his eyes were unreadable and cold. He placed a gentle hand on Liana's head and turned toward the other passengers. "She has Parkinson's," he said calmly. "Don't mind her. I'm taking her for treatment." There was a collective sigh. Some passengers shook their heads. A few clicked their tongues but chose not to engage further. Suddenly, from the back of the bus, a 10-year-old white boy named Caleb jumped up. His blonde hair bounced, and his face went pale. "Stop the bus," he cried. "She's asking for help. Don't let him take her." The driver jerked the wheel and slammed the brakes. Everyone stared at Caleb like he'd lost his mind. But he stood firm and pointed at Liana. "She doesn't have Parkinson's. She's signing. She's saying she needs help." Gregory's hand tightened on Liana's small shoulders. She flinched, eyes wide with fear. Caleb, undeterred, pulled out his phone and quickly called the police and his father. "My mom's deaf," he told the driver. "I know sign language. I know what she's saying." Moments later, police sirens pierced the countryside air. A loud knock rattled the bus door. "We received a report about a possible child abduction." Liana's eyes lit up. Hope sparked across her face. Gregory, though, remained composed. "These are legal guardianship papers," he said coldly, handing over a neat stack to the officer. "I'm her guardian." The officer read the documents carefully and finally nodded. "Everything checks out." Caleb's heart sank. "No, this can't be right." Gregory allowed a thin smirk to tug at his lips as the tension dissolved. The passengers turned on Caleb, frustrated. "You wasted our time. Kids should mind their business." The bus continued onward. At the next stop, Gregory yanked Liana off the bus. Her eyes turned back to Caleb, pleading. But the boy could only watch, frozen and helpless. At the next terminal, Caleb's father, Thomas Whitaker, waited. A rugged, middle-aged man in a sharp business suit. Thomas owned one of the region's largest coal operations. Caleb was returning to spend the rest of his summer vacation with him. Caleb climbed into the car, but his eyes brimmed with worry. "Dad," he said, his voice shaking, "that girl needs help." "I know it. You've got money. You can do something, right?" Thomas looked at him and sighed. He had always tried to make up for the absence of Caleb's mother, who had passed away when Caleb was 5. "All right," he said. "I'll look into it. If she really needs help, I'll help her." The next morning, Thomas took Caleb to one of his coal sites. Caleb loved the adventure, watching the giant machinery, exploring tunnels, and waving at the workers. Then his heart stopped. He saw Gregory, and walking behind him was Liana. "Dad, that's her. That's the girl from the bus. That man, he's with her." Thomas looked up, chuckled. "That man? Gregory? He works for me." "Don't worry, son. She's just here to help out." Caleb's brows furrowed, but she was signing for help. She said she needed help. Thomas ruffled his hair, smiling gently. "Kids like her, they have nowhere else to go. Their families give them up to people like Gregory, so we can give them food, clothes, and a future." Caleb didn't fully understand, but he trusted his father. What he didn't know was the truth was darker than he ever imagined. Despite the scorching heat deep inside the coal mines, Liana and dozens of other black children worked in horrifying conditions. Covered in grime, their hands were blistered and raw. Liana couldn't speak, but she understood everything. She never wanted this. Her parents had been deceived. Gregory had promised them a private education, health care, and a better life. But now, she lived in a nightmare. Caleb continued visiting the mines. To him, they were a playground. He played pretend, smearing coal dust on his skin. He thought Liana was lucky to be there. Over time, the two grew closer. Caleb brought her snacks, smiled at her. She never had the heart to show him the truth. No one noticed the mine owner's son blending in with the laborers, until everything went wrong. A thunderous boom. The ground quaked. Rocks collapsed. A massive cave-in shook the mine. Children screamed. Dust choked the air. Liana was pushed backward but crawled through the chaos, searching. Above ground, Gregory barged into Thomas's office. "Sir, cave in. Some of the kids are trapped." Thomas jumped to his feet, enraged, not about the lives lost but the coal. "Damn it, that section was worth millions. Get down there and calculate the damage." Gregory turned to leave when Liana burst into the office. Covered in soot, her eyes wild, she pointed to the wreckage, signing with trembling hands. She begged them to save the children. Thomas waved her off. "I don't have time for this." Gregory burst back into the room, this time with terror on his face. "Sir, it's Caleb. He's down there. He was in the tunnel when it collapsed." Time stopped. Thomas ran, his mind a storm of panic. He reached the collapse site. Huge boulders blocked the entrance. Only a tiny opening remained. Inside, his son was trapped. "Dad, help!" Caleb's voice was faint. Thomas clawed at the rocks with bleeding hands. "We need help. Give me help." Then, without a word, Liana stepped forward. Small, thin, but fearless. She crawled into the narrow gap. No one had to tell her. She knew what to do. Inside, the rocks threatened to crush her, but she kept moving. She reached Caleb. "I knew you'd come," he whispered. Liana grabbed his hand and pulled. Minutes passed. Then, sunlight. 2 dirt-covered children emerged. The crowd gasped. Thomas fell to his knees, sobbing. He didn't thank her. He couldn't. The shame swallowed him. Authorities arrived. News of the collapse broke wide. The truth spilled into daylight. Thomas had been using undocumented child labor, illegally trafficking minors under the guise of guardianship. He was arrested. In court, Caleb stood with his grandparents, his eyes red with tears. He testified. "My dad said he was helping them, but he wasn't. He lied to me. He lied to all of us." After Thomas was sentenced, the children were returned to their families. Poor, yes, but homes filled with love. Caleb visited often. He brought food, books, warm coats. Every time he saw Liana, he raised his hands and signed. "Thank you." Gregory vanished. No one ever saw him again. Liana, though, thrived. She enrolled in a real school with Caleb's help. She couldn't speak, but she wrote stories. About freedom, about bravery, about children who weren't born to suffer. And Caleb, once naive, learned that love has nothing to do with color, that heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they're just little girls who never give up. This story isn't just fiction. It's a mirror to the injustices hidden beneath polite society. The trafficking, the forced labor, the cruelty passed off as charity. And it's a reminder. Kindness has no color. Justice needs no permission. And sometimes, the smallest hands carry the greatest strength. Because humanity begins where compassion lives.